How did you get involved with Ethereum?
Ethereum? I've been tracking Bitcoin for a long time, since around 2011.
Okay.
It's a long time in this space.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really anything that exciting to me in the Bitcoin space other than Bitcoin itself. I looked at mining all the time. I did the calculations every week, and it still didn't make sense to, unless you're running a chip fab or you're an ASIC designer,
right.
It didn't make sense to become a miner
okay.
on that network. And all the businesses in the Bitcoin space seem to be run by immature or anarchic, just people that I probably wouldn't want to get into business with.
Okay.
I mean, I respected where they were coming from, and it was a lot of young people who were like PHP coders who thought that they could build a global exchange with some pretty weak technology. They weren't mature business people, they weren't mature technologists, and a lot of those companies got taken down by smart security consultants
right.
from Russia and India who hacked them and stole all their money as their consulting fee. Bitcoin was strong enough. It's such a powerful technology, basically. The ideas are so strong that it survived a lot of madness in the early days of different schemes and failed businesses.
So you and a few other people got together and said, let's build something from scratch.
No. It was a kid named Vitalik Buterin, based in Toronto. And he was at University of Waterloo doing computer science. It was moving a little too slow for him, I think, and he was obsessed with Bitcoin. So he stopped doing that, traveled around the world for about a year, and Bitcoin was great, but all of us were looking for what it was going to enable. And so there was this notion of the Bitcoin 2.0 space, or the cryptocurrency 2.0 space,
right.
on which we would build a lot of different kinds of functionality onto this kind of decentralized network. And some people started to articulate it in the form of colored coins and master coin. And Vitalik actually traveled around the world and lived in hacker spaces and worked with these different groups. He wrote some white papers for those different technologies. And basically he looked around at all these incredibly smart people, banging their heads in the wall, trying to shoehorn little bits of functionality onto a protocol that really didn't support it. So
you mean the Bitcoin protocol?
Bitcoin protocol,
okay.
Exactly. So these people are trying to shove complex mechanism into like 40 bytes of transaction, and it just didn't make sense. So he took a step back and said, okay, why don't we just build a universal compute machine, a computationally complete engine, and we'll bolt it into each node on the network, and we'll build a better kind of Bitcoin network, because a lot of academics have done a lot of research since Bitcoin came out. So you can build a better, faster, stronger network, and enable each node to be a computer on the network, not just a sort of transaction processor.
The news last week, I noticed that Counterparty was claiming or saying that they put certain Ethereum applications onto Counterparty.
Sure.
How's that possible?
Well, first of all, Ethereum is an open source, non-profit project, so everything's out there. Anybody can take it and look at it, study it, do what they want with it. Counterparty has built a great system. It's basically using the Bitcoin network, and they offer a small number of features. Basically, you can issue a token, you can do a Kickstarter, you can transfer tokens amongst one another, but it's not the very general computational engine. So on Ethereum, if you're a software developer, you can build anything that you can dream up. Counterparty just had to hard code specific features into it, so you had to wait for the Counterparty developers to build something that you liked, and that wasn't going to happen fast. So what they did was they took our virtual machine engine, our compute engine, and they bolted it onto their system.
Okay.
So they will be able to run a certain portion of some of the contracts that run on Ethereum. But they're missing a whole lot of the other stuff that is useful and necessary in Ethereum.
That's why you build this protocol from the ground up, from scratch.
Not even that, but that's partly true. There are a lot of things that we wanted in addition to just the network protocol, but also there's no way ever for the Bitcoin network itself to be scalable. So a Bitcoin itself is gonna, if it gets very, very popular, it's gonna face scalability issues, and that too much data is stored on the system, and transactions per second could get too high, and that basically causes the cost of transitions to go up, which is one of the core values of Bitcoin, inexpensive transactions. Ethereum has solved a lot of those problems, but Ethereum has a much bigger problem because we're trying to store programs and data and run programs on the network, so our requirements are far more extreme. So the first version of Ethereum 1.0 is not going to be extremely scalable, certainly more scalable than Bitcoin, but we've already formed a team to build version 2.0, which is focused on making transactions per second scalable, data storage scalable, and the amount of computation that you can stuff in a 12-second block time scalable. So that basically looks like sharding the network, where certain groups of nodes focus on some things and other groups focus on other things.
So Vitalik, he goes on this exodus around the world, dealing with Colorcoin, Mastercoin, figuring out what would be the best way to begin from scratch to build the perfect protocol. Mm-hmm. And then, did you know him before this?
No, I had read a lot of his articles. He basically took over Bitcoin Magazine, and there was this person named Vitalik Buterin who was writing these incredibly clearly expressed, thoughtful articles on every aspect of Bitcoin and related technologies. And then, like 5 months later, I find out that he's 19. Wow.
So you approached him?
Well, it was kind of an accident, actually. I was up. He invented Ethereum in November of 2013.
Okay.
I was up.
I remember that.
I'm from Toronto also. I was visiting my family over Christmas, and on January 1st, I went to a meetup in Decentral, Bitcoin Decentral in downtown Toronto.
Okay.
And ran into Vitalik, ran into Anthony Diorio, another one of the people who's a founder of Ethereum.
Was Anthony working with Vitalik at that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Vitalik had circulated the paper to like 5 or 6 people at that time, may have been a little more.
Were you one of those people?
No, I just started talking.
Okay.
I didn't know Vitalik at that point.
Right.
So we just started talking at that event, and I remained interested, and we kept talking. And eventually I got invited to sort of the inaugural party to be part of the team, and that happened in February.
Oh, wow. Okay. So when does Ethereum 1.0 launch?
It's looking like March.
March, okay.
There's a chance it'll slip into February.
And really?
Yeah, we're trying to freeze the feature set and get a good solid system out there without some of the bells and whistles that are planned. There are just so many bells and whistles or fundamental items on the roadmap.
Which is Ethereum 2.0.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And or 1.x, 1.1, 1.2.
So basically, you're going to be issuing 1.x, 2.0.
Constant updates, yeah.
Okay.
So the deal is that for as long as we keep the protocol the same, we can improve the clients and add some things, as long as everybody is still speaking the same language on the network. But as soon as we make radical changes so that the language on the network has to change, then we have to create another network. So at that point, we'll go to 2.0.